Welcome to Distress to Joyful, Bailey's Way. I'm your host, Bailey Raber, here to enlighten you and the rest of the world about one of the most misunderstood mental health disorders out there, bipolar disorder. In each episode, we'll learn more about my personal journey with bipolar 2 disorder, how I've struggled with it, and how I've learned to overcome those struggles. Together, we'll laugh, we'll cry, and most importantly, we'll have fun. You'll leave each episode feeling hopeful and stocked full of useful information on how you can better yourself and the world around you. Hey friends! Before we get started today, I have some announcements, I guess. I don't know. I call this like the announcement section or segment of the show. A lot of times it's not really announcements per se. It's just things I want to share with you. So I don't even know what to call this anymore. So first of all, I want to give a really good book recommendation because most of y'all should know by now, especially if you've been tuning in since day one, that I am a bookworm. I'm a little nerd. I love reading books. I've recently started also listening to some audiobooks too, which I'll tell you about a really good one next time because I need to finish it first. I'm almost done. But this week, I want to share with you Brené Brown's Rising Strong. So I've actually already read this once before, and I've been rereading it because I am a firm believer that sometimes we need to go back and reread things we've read before for a refresher, for a reminder. And lately, I've talked about this openly, that I've been struggling a lot this year. This year has been one of the best and also hardest years. It's been a combo, so it's been a whirlwind, you know what I meant. And with that, I decided that I needed to go back and reread Rising Strong by Brené Brown because I have felt just so down and so low, and I just needed a reminder that I can pick myself back up and come out on top again, or better than I was before, right? I don't know if I've shared this before. I don't like the term resilient because I believe that the actual definition of resilient means that you go through something and you come back and you come back to the place that you were. Which resilience, that's great and all, but I learned a better word that is anti-fragile. And anti-fragile is the word that I love to use to describe myself because anti-fragile means that you're going along, chugging through life. You get hit by something that tries to tear you down, that tries to break you apart, and you come back stronger. So when people say resilient, I think most of them mean anti-fragile. And I really needed to pick this book up to remind myself that I am fucking anti-fragile. I get hit time and time again by whatever the fuck life throws at me, and I get back up every single time stronger than I was before. I don't know why I'm getting emotional right now. But yeah, and so with that, I picked up Rising Strong again. And so the back reads, the irony is that we attempt to disown or... Oh my God, let me start over, you guys. I cannot read today. The irony is that we attempt to disown our difficult stories or to appear more whole or more acceptable. But our wholeness, even our wholeheartedness, actually depends on the integration of all of our experiences, including the falls. So yeah, I think I'm pretty good at owning my difficult stories. Again, if you guys have tuned in to any episode besides just this one, if this is more than your first episode that you're tuning into, you should know by now that I own my difficult stories, no matter how hard they are. And that, I think, has been part of what's created me into the woman I am today. That even though I've gone through some awful things, if I had to go back and change them and, go an easier route, I wouldn't change anything that's occurred in my past because every little thing that tried to break me built me into the strong woman that I am today. And again, with that, this book is a wonderful, for me, reminder for you. If you haven't read it just yet, and if you don't know that I'm obsessed with Brené Brown, here's another reminder that I am, obsessed with Brené Brown. And this is a really, really great book to read, especially if you are like me and you've been struggling with a bunch of shit this year. So if you have not read any of Brene Brown's books, I have a wonderful article I wrote that is titled Brene Brown's Books Ranked in Order of Most Valuable that I will link in the show notes. And I think that you should check that out. Again, it's all opinion based, but I've read every single one of her books and I've watched all of her TV specials. And again, I'm obsessed. I mean, can't you tell? So with this article, I kind of ranked them in what I think is most important, depending upon what types of things are going on in your life. And so, yeah, check that out if you haven't read any of her stuff yet. If you have and you haven't gotten to this one yet, it's about damn time. Oh, and I guess this part actually is an announcement, something I want to share. If you haven't already, head on over to my Etsy shop and purchase a affirmation calendar. Oh, y'all, I am so excited. I can wait. I can't wait for 2024 to get here. But I'm excited to get to use this calendar in 2024. If you didn't tune in last week, let me just, get you up to date. But this calendar I created has check boxes so you can track your medication intake. Because I personally forget things easily, especially like mundane things like taking my meds every day. And I actually drew on my Doug the Pug calendar little boxes so I could check off that I took my medication. But y'all, drawing 30 little check boxes every month is really annoying. I found that out real quick. So I stopped doing that and I decided, let me just create something that has it pre-printed. I don't have to worry about it. I made it cute and fun with little things like for Valentine's Day, the hearts. We've got Mardi Gras on there, cute little stuff like that. And also a different affirmation for each month that I tailored for each month or curated, whatever the fancy word you want to use. But basically, like for example, this is for February. I chose to put the affirmation, I am beautiful and I love all aspects of me and who I am. Which I plan to not only walk up to this calendar every single day next year and check off that I've taken my meds, but I also plan to read these affirmations out loud every single morning when I go to check my checkbox after I've taken my meds. But that way I can add some more positivity into my daily routine and specifically in the mornings when I think is the best time to add positivity. That's my opinion. You start your day on a positive note. It can help to keep your day on a positive note even when life tries to suck you down. So again, the link's going to be in the episode description and in the show notes. But I've made these so that you guys can purchase one too, because if it's going to help me, I'm pretty positive it could probably help you or someone you know too. Okay, so I'm excited because I haven't done one of these since the first time I did it. But I have a new self-reflection corner for you guys. And honestly, I hope, and you guys can give me feedback. I would love feedback. But I hope that these self-reflection corners are making you think more about yourself and things that you are trying to become more aware of. Because the more self-aware we are, you guys, the easier it is to go through life. That's honestly what I've learned. I have learned that self-awareness helps me create healthy boundaries. It helps me to preserve my peace. It helps me to have better relationships with people because when I can understand why I feel some way, why I act a certain way, why I react or don't react or whatever, I can better navigate my life. And, it's only gotten better ever since I started this whole journey. So for Self-Reflection Corner this week, I recently realized that while I am a planner who loves to plan things, I cannot plan things for others if I am not fully in charge / in control of the plans. I am a bit of a control freak. That is another story for another day. But I learned this new thing about myself and with plans. I learned this because I was actually helping a friend plan a really important event that was super special to them. But they were the ones calling all the shots, which is completely understandable and how it should be. So let me be clear that is how it should be for this specific event. I don't need to come in and control everything. That's not at all what I'm talking about. The issue that arose, however, was that I was a part of all of this planning and the plans kept changing. Y'all, I don't do well with change. I've been working on it and it's gotten better, but I still don't do great with it, especially when it involves things that are planned. I'm a planner. I'm a scheduler. I like to do things on schedule and as planned. So each time that the plans around this event would change, I would get frustrated. And so to put things into a bit more perspective, I'm going to quickly tell you about my first time traveling with Moni's friends, although you can hear the entire story in Travel Tales episode 2. So if you want to hear the whole thing, head on over to that. I'm going to get brief because there's specifics I want to talk about. But we went to Arkansas together in September of 21 as our first official group trip that included the girls, because previously it was just Moni and all the boys traveling together. So I was told all that we were going to do and what time we were going to be at certain places, etc. So on the day that we were supposed to be going mountain biking at 11 a.m., I noticed that people weren't even dressed yet and that breakfast was still being made at 11 a.m. Like we were already supposed to be there. I began to feel a bit panicky as arriving on time was really important to me back then, and we were now already late. So we actually ended up arriving at the mountain bikes at 1:30 p.m., which ended up only giving us about an hour or so with the bikes as they had to be returned by 3 o'clock. And I was so frustrated. This did not go as planned and it pissed me off. But throughout this first trip, I came to understand that this group is very chill. They are go with the flow and they do not stress about showing up for things on time. They just don't. They'd rather just enjoy things as they come. So, even though it was really, really hard, I have learned to adjust and I let go of all expectations when I go on these trips with the boys. And I've been on 4 now. I've been on 4 now total, including this one. And we've got more that are going to come up in the future. This is not going to go away. So now what I do is I make sure that I give no input on the planning whatsoever. I literally just ask Moni what to roughly expect and what types of clothes to bring for these potential activities. That's the thing, guys. I can be okay when things are changing if I am not involved in them. If I know up front that I'm just going with the flow, then great. I'm going to be able to go with the flow because that's the plan. The plan is that I just go with the flow. But if I have to be involved with the planning, I want things to go as they're supposed to. That's just how I am. So my solution with friends is that when I'm being asked to help plan something alongside any of my friends who tend to change their minds or they like to bounce around ideas and, change up the plans a lot, my new intentions is that I'm going to be upfront with them about what I can do. Meaning that I can be delegated some tasks that are for sure needing to be done, but I cannot take on anything that has not already been solidified, nor am I able to give input on any of the activities that will take place. So these are boundaries that moving forward I'm going to set with specific friends because this is how I need to keep my mental peace and also keep these friendships intact. This keeps me from being frustrated. This keeps me at bay. I'm still helping. I'm still going to do whatever is needed to be done, but I'm not going to give my input. I'm not going to help plan things. I have to take a back seat from that. And even though I'm really good at planning things, and that's why people come to me for that, I have learned that that's not always going to work. And I can't always do that for people. And that's okay. Because my friendship with this person is way more important than helping make sure that they plan everything that needs to go the way it needs to go. It's not my event. It's their event. So I'll help where I can help. And again, that's how I'm going to keep my mental peace and preserve the friendships. And I hope that this was eye-opening for you. I hope that this helps you to see maybe there's some spots in some of your friendships that have been frustrating or maybe just not going the way that you would hope. And maybe you should just sit down and think about it. Like, think about what is going on, what's the frustration point in you, and what boundaries can you set to ensure that everybody is happy? Because my solution, I'm pretty sure, is going to keep everybody happy. But hey, I'll update you. We'll see the first time it happens. Okay, so I recently told you guys, recently being, I guess, last week or last episode. I keep saying last week. It's definitely last episode that I now have a pug. His name is Duke. I need to post about him on social media, actually. I haven't done that yet. And I believe I put a photo of him in last week's show notes, but I'll put another photo this week too, just because he's so cute. Y'all will love him. He's the most adorable thing ever. But ever since we got Duke, my sleep schedule has been totally off. And so, of course, has my fiance Moni's. And I'm going to bed late. We are getting woken up in the middle of the night to take him potty. And then I have been missing all of my morning workouts. Ever since we got him, I haven't worked out in the morning. It's just not been cool in terms of, me and schedule and planning. I've had low energy, and I've honestly had a hard time getting out of bed in the morning because of that. But I've started drinking Magic Mind, and it's literally become my best friend during this new life transition. So drinking Magic Mind each morning gives me the mental energy and the focus that I am not getting right now from my morning workouts, since they are non-existent. Also, I love that it's made with all natural ingredients and is sugar-free, especially since I've been watching my sugar intake recently. So if you're like me and you're adjusting to a new routine or a new schedule and you're looking for some extra energy in the mornings that is not from caffeine or coffee, I should mention, then I totally recommend that you try out Magic Mind. You can get it at magicmind.com/Baileysway and use code Bailey'sWay20 so that you can get up to 56% off your first subscription or 20% off your one-time purchase. So again, that's code Bailey'sWay20 for 56% off. So I totally stand behind it because it seriously works, you guys. It helps me to focus and get through my day, especially since I have not been able to work out in the mornings, which has just been so frustrating. So because it helps me, I know that it can help anyone else who struggles with feeling awake in the morning or focusing before noon. So again, it's magicmind.com/Baileysway and use code Bailey'sWay20 for up to 56% off your subscription. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. Bipolar rage is a real bee with an itch. Oh boy, yeah. So this one is, I've talked about anger before. This is a different level. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to start by reading part of an article that I found on ADAA.org, which is the Anxiety and Depression Association of America. And this article is titled An Unrecognized Symptom of Bipolar Disorder, Rage, which was written by Dominique Castro. So it is a personal story about her experiences with bipolar rage as someone who is diagnosed with bipolar 1. And guys, this is a beautiful article that really puts my feelings about these nasty rage fits into words. It is something that I have struggled with for as long as I can remember, but I haven't been able to properly articulate this struggle to others in a way that helps them understand. But okay, enough about me. Let me go ahead and read you parts of this article. And if you want to read the full article yourself, the link can be found in today's show notes. So it starts by saying, bipolar rage is a waking nightmare for the person in its grips and for those in its path. It is uncontrollable, unstable, unpredictable. With regular anger, there's usually a trigger, something that you can pinpoint and go, aha, this is what set them off, and this is why it set them off. With bipolar rage, there does not necessarily need to be a trigger. It can show up without warning and is always absent of reason. It chooses chaos, and it's not the individual choosing to lose control. If anything, control is something that we're desperate to have, and that desperation only makes our anger more chaotic. For loved ones that become the target of a rage attack, I can only imagine how helpless they feel too. Verbal abuse is usually front and center during these episodes, and naturally, those that are targeted become defensive and upset. I could encourage them to not take these verbal attacks personally, but let's be honest, it is not possible because the attack is personal because we make it personal. Not intentionally, of course, but that doesn't matter. I would verbally attack someone with a fury out of hell itself during a manic episode and have no recollection of it. When someone who is diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder experiences a manic episode, they often have no awareness that their behavior is destructive. When my loved ones made attempts to calm me down, it only fueled my anger. Nothing could soothe it. On more than one occasion, our neighbors made noise complaints to the leasing office. I, at the time, couldn't understand what their problem was. That was the thing. Everyone else was the one with the problem. Not me. It was everyone else's fault when I lost my temper. They pushed me over the edge. I believed this to my very core. In my viewpoint, most of the time, it wasn't what someone said that set me off. It was how they said it. My mind would pick apart their sentences and twist their words into something that threatened my vulnerability. She continues on by saying, I'm grateful for my mother's and my fiance's love. Had it not been for their relentless pursuit to convince me that I needed help, I never would have realized that I did. This is why treatment should always be a team effort. People suffering with mental illness, especially during acute episodes, need a team of trusted people around them. We cannot do it on our own, and that is the simple truth. I don't know what advice I could give on what to do or what to say when your loved one is experiencing bipolar rage. What I can leave you with is do not stop trying to get them help. Never stop trying. We need it, and we need you. Gosh, I'm a ball of emotion today. So reading this article was both refreshing as I felt seen and understood around this difficult topic for the first time ever, but it was also difficult to read because there were some very hard truths in there that kind of felt like a slap in the face. So those moments of rage, guys, they are an absolute nightmare that are completely uncontrollable. They are sometimes scary for both myself and anyone else in my path. So when looking back on some of these rage episodes, I imagine that I look like the Hulk. I'm exploding out of my body and turning into a green monster who just causes chaos all around. And guys, it's not me who's doing this. It's bipolar disorder. But that hasn't been easily believed by those around me. I become a completely different person, one who screams and says mean things, and I throw shit, and I sometimes even break things. One time I broke a 55-inch TV, and I felt shame about it afterwards for months. And I actually still feel shame about it when I think back to that moment. That's how, it sucks. So the thing is, unless you've experienced a rage episode yourself, you really don't understand what it feels like. Y'all, this rage is so powerful that I feel it pulsing throughout my body, looking for any way to escape. It often won't settle for sitting down and trying to be calm, but instead it needs to force its way out physically, which is usually what results in the throwing things, the breaking things, or sometimes even kicking or punching a wall. I've slammed doors, I've ripped things off the wall, I've flipped tables, and I hate admitting this, but it's all true. Screaming is another way that this rage tries to exit my body, which sometimes results in me losing my voice. And while this doesn't happen very often anymore, it is super horrible when it does happen, and it leaves scars on both myself and anyone who's around me. And guys, the thing too is I really wish that I could further explain how it feels, because there is a physical feeling in my body and it needs to go. It needs to get the fuck out. And it doesn't matter what's in my way, who's around me. It doesn't fucking matter. It just needs to get out. That's it. I can't control it. And it's something that I have struggled with, God, for as long as I can remember. Because growing up in our house, everyone slammed doors. Everybody threw things and screamed when they got mad. And that was just typical of my household. So I came into adulthood continuing those behaviors. And unfortunately, bipolar disorder, just the rage when it does come through, which thankfully is very minimum these days. But when it does come through, it just pulsates through my body like that. And it sucks, you guys. It sucks. And in terms of the harsh realities that I faced when I read this article, God, when the author said, Quote, I could encourage my loved ones not to take these verbal attacks during a rage episode personally, but let's be honest here. It is not possible because the attack is personal, because we make it personal. Not intentionally, of course, but that doesn't matter. Guys, my heart sank into my chest when I read this because so many times I have told my fiance, don't take it personally. It's not you. It's bipolar disorder creating chaos. And I will say he does a phenomenal job trying not to take it personally. But I know that deep down, these awful episodes leave scars on him. And I really hate that. I do. And he can't always not take it personally. And it's hurtful because that's what it is. The reality is that these episodes create hurt and pain for other people. And it sucks. So for those of you tuning in who do not have bipolar yourself, but instead have a loved one who has it, I ask that you try to consider this. While you are fully and completely allowed to feel angry, hurt, or upset by these types of behaviors, and when the rage comes out, and when these episodes just break through your loved one, please remember to give your loved ones some grace, especially if they hold themselves accountable and apologize and also work towards trying to do better. Because guys, here's the thing. While bipolar disorder does cause rage episodes, I personally believe that we should not be using bipolar disorder as an excuse to run around and behave badly, but instead we need to realize and acknowledge that our shitty behaviors are part of the disorder. They're not part of us, but we are the ones who did them. Yes, that was bipolar disorder that came out into the rage. That was bipolar disorder that came out into the nasty mood and the nasty episode. But I am still the person that it came out through. I was still the one behaving the way that I did. And so I think it is incredibly important that when I do fuck up, when I do scream and yell, when I do slam a door, that I go back and I apologize, because regardless of what triggered me to do that, or that the rage came through and it was uncontrollable, I still did it. I still did it. And acknowledging that and apologizing and taking accountability, guys, that is how you can work towards moving forward. So here's the thing. We are not perfect. I am not perfect. You are not perfect. Nobody on this earth is perfect, and we never will be. Rage episodes will happen. We will all slip. We will all do things that we are not proud of. We will all fall short of being the best version of ourselves. We all will. But we can work towards finding healthy ways to release the rage and to self-soothe. Self-soothe. Man, I'm so bad at saying that. So guys, with that, I'll admit I'm even terrible about this myself. And so it's something that I'm still working on. And I do think it's important that I admit that to you. I'm not perfect. I still have to work on this. It's a struggle every single time. But when these rage episodes come through, one of the things that definitely needs to happen is my fiance and I need to separate. Like if he's the one and he's there when it's happening, we've got to separate and let each other kind of cool off a bit. That can be hard sometimes, but that is usually how things can get better. At least that's what we've seen for us. Another thing that I work on trying to do is when I'm feeling angry and like the rage is really, really coming through really strong, is to get the fuck out of the house and go on a walk or go on a run. Self-soothing is actually really, really hard for me. I don't do well with that. I was never taught that. I am still trying to learn that. So I have a lot more experience with dealing with my rage than I do with trying to soothe myself. Yeah, it is what it is, y'all. I'll update y'all when self-soothing comes through, but I'm just not there yet in my healing journey. I'm not. So in terms of anger, I actually have an episode. I believe it is season 2, episode 2, but I'll stick it in the show notes for you guys. But I do have an episode called Anger Management Bailey's Way, where I talk about the things that I do and can do to help manage my anger. Some of them are more like preventative. Others of it is things that you can do in the midst of feeling angry. Like I just said, you leave the room, you go on a walk, move your body. And moving your body, I believe, is what helps to regulate your emotions better. So if rage is shining through, I know it's really, really hard in the moment, but get out and move your body. Just go on a walk or go on a run if you really need to. But I know that these are things that I have been told to do. They are things that do help me when I get around to doing them. So I know that this is something that could benefit you too. Exercise is always beneficial. Always. So, lastly, guys, real quick, this one is just for everybody listening. That we should all be striving for progress, not perfection. All of us, always. And let's remember to celebrate ourselves and our loved ones when healthy behaviors do come through and when they are chosen above the unhealthy behaviors or the past behaviors or the way we were known to typically behave. Guys, that's a big deal. That is such a big deal. If you are in the middle of a rage episode and you're just feeling so angry and you leave the house, maybe you slam the door on the way out, but you leave and you go on a walk and you get some of that out and you air it out outside and you breathe in fresh air and you move your body and you let your loved one stay at home and calm down. Okay, you slammed the door. Okay, you screamed before you left. Yes, that did happen. Acknowledge it for what it is, but celebrate that for the first time you left. You left the house and cooled down elsewhere instead of continuing to scream and continuing to slam doors or worse, breaking a 55-inch TV. Guys, this is important. And these are things that I truly believe need to be recognized by both yourself and your loved one. And they should be celebrated together. Moni does that. Moni does that with me. When he notices that I choose healthy behaviors instead, he'll celebrate with me. And I do the same for him when I notice that he remembered to ask me questions instead of telling me what to do or things like that. So yeah, once again, let's just remember to celebrate ourselves and our loved ones when healthy behaviors shine through and replace unhealthy behaviors that were previously always chosen instead. Oh, and one more thing. Remember that bipolar rage is a real bitch. Okay, so we're going to skip win of the week this week because we already have been here for 30-something minutes and I'm trying to keep my episodes around that amount of time. So in the next episode, we are going to discuss how to cope with losing friends. So I believe that losing friends probably happens quite a bit for those of us with bipolar disorder. I mean, this is just me speaking from personal experience, but come on, I just talked about bipolar rage. And we all know that that's a bitch and that nobody wants to deal, not that nobody wants to deal with it, but that it causes hurt and pain. And because it causes hurt and pain, people tend to disappear. And y'all, over the almost 3 decades that I've been alive, I have lost a good number of friends, some of which was my fault. Other times it was not. But regardless of how a friendship ends, it often sucks and it sometimes hits you as hard as a breakup would. So that said, I'm going to tell you how I have learned to cope with losing friends and hopefully it's going to help you. So we're going to discuss all of that in the next episode, so be sure not to miss it. Thank you for tuning into the show. Be sure to follow the show on Instagram and Facebook at distress2joyful_Bailey's Way. And head on over to the website, whatisheybellsdoing.com to check out the show notes from the episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help spread the word by leaving a rating or writing a review, especially if you have Apple Podcasts or if you tune in on Audible. Y'all, those are reviewable. Please leave me a review. I want to hear what you think. Also, make sure that you check out the show notes so that you can get all of the articles and links mentioned throughout today's episode. And if you didn't already know this, you can tune into this episode completely for free on YouTube, where you can actually see me talking. So if you didn't know that, it's really been a new thing that I started this year. I've enjoyed it. I'm watching myself talk to you, which And as a solo, as a solo host, that it's kind of weird to think about, but I think it's helped me become a better host because of it. So I don't know. Check them out on YouTube. You guys let me know. It's all raw footage. I do not edit any of it. All my mistakes are in there. My hiccups, my sneezes, all of it. So lastly, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all of the new episode releases. But until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye!